Hey, what's going on? It's Jason Lucchesi with the No Flipping Excuses Show. I am so excited that you're here with us today. I've got a good friend joining me, but before I introduce him to you, I want to say thanks if you're returning as a subscriber, you're watching this or maybe listening to this. Thank you so much. I super appreciate you doing that. If you're brand new, welcome. Make sure you become a subscriber today. Click that subscribe button below and you'll get notified of brand new episodes as they come out. We have 2 to 3, possibly even 4 coming out on a weekly basis. So we'd love to keep you in the loop. If you think we deserve a thumbs up for this video, make sure you drop a thumbs down below. And as always, we love to continue the conversation after the show concludes in the comment section. So make sure you drop a comment below. Let us know what you think of this episode as we conclude here in just a little bit. We've got a lot to cover with you today. I've got my good friend. I've known this guy for, 10, 12 years now. And he's always doing. He's always in the business. He's working on his business. He's got amazing things going on today. Mr. Mike Warren. Mike, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing good, my friend. Thank you very much for having me on your podcast today. I'm looking forward to sharing information to help people change their perspective, their mindset, and say, wait, there's more out there than just whatever they were doing, right? People have that thing. There's got to be more than just this. And there's a lot of things, and I'm really excited about talking about this stuff with everybody that's listening. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. And, for those that don't know Mike, the things that we're going to be covering today, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. You could be doing this from wherever. So a lot of times we talk about real estate on the show. We're always talking about real estate on the show. This has to do a little bit different. We're going to be talking about something with business flipping. Still requires none of your own capital to get involved. And there's a ton of opportunity coming from a cash flow perspective and profits that you could put in your bank account immediately. I love it. I think it's absolutely perfect for us to talk about. It's, you have to have that perfect opportunity. You have to have real estate, and it's good to spread things out, right, Mike? You got to be able to do other things on top of real estate. So I'm glad you were able to come on today. We could talk about business flipping. What is business flipping?
In a nutshell, it's where we go out, we look for good, positive cash flowing companies, not companies that have one foot in the grave and about to go bankrupt or shut down. We're talking about good companies that have people in place, they're making money. Typically, it's in that $1 million to $10 million valuation range because those are really easy to buy. Yeah. And they're making typically 30% profit per year. Wow. So a $1 million company is making $300,000 a year on one company. A $10 million company is making $3 million a year in profit. And we buy these companies using creative real estate strategies because my background is creative real estate. Yeah. I started 30 plus years ago, and I took those same strategies in real estate. I applied it to business, and we can buy a business super profitable for no money out of our own pocket. We leverage it just like we do real estate. So we take that business, we might improve it, meaning we'll triple the profit in most cases by using some very specific strategies, just like you would take a house and you would improve the house. You would, paint it, carpet it, you might put in some new windows and stuff, and then you would turn around, you flip the house. Yeah. We do somewhat the same thing with a business where we go in, we put in better marketing strategies because most businesses don't know how to market. They know how to do what they do, but they don't know how to market. So we put in some good marketing strategies, put some good teams in place, we increase the cash flow, and then we turn around and we sell it for a multiple of what we bought it for. So typically, when we're doing a flip, if it's a $1 million acquisition, we're going to sell that business 2 or 3 years later for about $4 to $6 million. That's what we do, that kind of growth. And just kind of give you just a little bit more information, Jason. Yeah. What I have found, and since my background is real estate, that's where I started. I'm now doing a lot of acquisitions. I still do real estate, but I like acquisitions because I get an extra 1 or 2 zeros on my deals. But when I started, I found that I would have to do, on average, 97 houses to make the same amount of profit I make on one business transaction. Wow. 97 to 1. Wow. Same time, right, to do one house, I do on one business, but I have to do 97 over here to make the same profit on one business transaction, just to give everybody a little perspective.
Wow, that's insane. That's insane. And the funny thing is when you were talking about marketing, a lot of these companies, they don't. It's very similar to like commercial for like real estate. I remember going and looking at like a self-storage facility up in Hobart, Indiana, and I was talking to the guy, they probably owned it for 40 years, but they had no marketing. Their vacancy rates were extremely low. And you could see with business flipping the same exact thing, that if you saw some of these things with, older owners, wanting to do an exit strategy and get out of their property, it's essentially the same concept. And I love it. And I'm glad you broke down the 97-to-1 ratio, because that's huge. So for some of our viewers that are watching right now, and maybe they're just getting involved with real estate, they possibly, after today's episode, they might want to get involved with business flipping. Why don't we kind of talk about like, well, what kind of businesses are you going after? Are these like online stores? Are these brick and mortar stores? Like, what kind of stores are they? How are you finding them? How are you coming across them?
Okay. Lots of different ways to find deals. The easiest that most people do is to go online, type in business for sale or business for sale by owner, which is always the best, because I like to cut out the brokers. Brokers are kind of like lawyers and real estate agents. They mess up our deals, right?
Right.
So I don't really want them. I will deal with them if I have to, and I can still get the deal done, but it makes it a little bit more of a hassle. So I try to do, what do we call these off-market deals, by approaching business owners directly. I can find them literally looking online, or I could go to LinkedIn or my social media. I can find deals all over the place. So we're looking for those kinds of owners first off. The majority of our owners that we buy businesses from today, they're selling because they're looking to retire. That's the majority right now, and it's a perfect scenario, which allows us to do creative owner financing, right? Just like you do when you buy a house or apartment building. And guess what? I get seller finance. I get seller financing on the business as well. And I can get up to 80, 90% seller financing and then borrow against the business assets to come up with a down payment. Or I can use an outside lender just like I would in real estate. Lots of ways to do that. So you asked about what types of businesses. I don't really care about the type of business. I mean, I'll tell you what business I don't want. I think that's more of a smaller list, but I care about a business that has good cash flow and has good growth potential. They may not be doing everything they need to grow it, but it has been growing year over year. Like real estate, a lot of times, once you get your property where you want to be, it's tended to be flat, and then you're getting, hopefully property appreciation and debt decline or debt decrease, right? So you're making that spread. Where in business, while I am also getting debt reduction, I'm getting rapid growth, and it's always at a multiple of that increase. And that multiple is typically 3 to 5 times every dollar that's increased in value. Wow. So, or increased in profit, right? So it's a massive increase that I just can't get when I do real estate. Yeah. So some of the things that I don't want convenience stores. I don't want gas stations. I don't want restaurants. And the reason that I don't want those kinds of things, and there are some people I'm sure that watch and say, I would love to own that. And that's great. What I'm talking about is me, right? Me and my private equity firm, we don't want those because I can't easily triple the profit of that business. If I have a convenience store, a little box, right? And you got people coming in and buying stuff, how do you triple the profits of a convenience store? It's very difficult without opening other locations, and that's expensive. Right. Same thing with a gas station or a restaurant, right? You got to open more locations, and you can do that, and there's nothing wrong with it. But if I took an e-commerce company, for instance, or to give you an example, so we just bought a $2 million kitchen design company. It's based in Pennsylvania, and it cost us $2 million. We put not a dime into our pocket, and that business makes $1.1 million a year in profit. Now think about those numbers. $1.1 million a year in profit, and we use none of our own money, none of our own credit to buy that business. Now that business, there were 2 owners, and the wife worked in the business, so 3 of them that ran the business, very small, but very, very profitable, 45% profit margin. We want 30% or higher, okay? So it was making 45%. That business was capped at its growth because the owners specifically said, we're looking to retire. We don't want to take on any more business. A funny thing that they would say is every time we would post some of our results of what we've done for clients in Facebook, we got inundated with too many calls. We can't handle the work because they don't want to work anymore. And they don't want to hire any salespeople, which is the simple solution. They don't want to hire anybody and train them. They're happy where they're at. They sold it to us because one wants to travel around in the RV and the other one wants to go on vacation, go visit his kids in college. And it's like, okay, great. I get it. You know, they get what they want. We got what we want. And it's $1.1 million a year with no cash out of pocket.
Wow. So just going off of numbers, 4-year evaluation, you're looking at, you know, what, 7.5 to 8 million right now that you could turn that company into. That's amazing. So when you're evaluating these deals, some of the things that we've seen too from looking at like e-com stores is sometimes the marketing, a lot of people, they kind of run out of cash, or they don't realize some of the things that they could do to kind of scale or explode their businesses. What's some of the things that you look for, like years in business, where the company is located at? Are you strictly going off of one location that you want to see for these people, or is it all over the world that you're looking at businesses?
I'll go backwards. So all over the world, I don't really care as long as it's in English speaking country, because I want to look at my contracts. I want it all in English. If I choose another country, which I'm willing to do, but I need to have somebody physically on the ground to manage that business that also is bilingual, that I can put most of that on them and they manage that business for me. Otherwise, I need it to be in English so that I understand everything. So I don't really care about geography. What I care about is, you know, if the business, I want at least 3 years of age in the business or older. Because you could have a company, somebody got a product, let's say it's an e-com company, and they put a product on, all of a sudden everybody was buying like crazy. So let's say that they started business during COVID. They put it on there and all of a sudden sales just skyrocket, right? Everybody's really happy. Well, we call that oftentimes the COVID bump. Because what you're seeing, a lot of these e-com companies that made great sales during COVID, now that COVID's over, all of a sudden they're like, their sales are just going through the ground, right? It's a COVID bump. So I want 3 years of history because it shows me what they're doing year 1, year 2, year 3, and I want to see growth over all those 3 years. It may not be massive growth, but I want to see growth year over year over year. And then, you know, what's their profit margin? Those are really the things I look at the most.
Okay. So like normal stuff that you would do like in real estate, obviously you want to see P&Ls, you want to see tax returns, like normal stuff, right? Like you're evaluating it from a business now instead of a real estate deal. So I love this. This is such an amazing opportunity that, you know, is kind of like people need to understand, like you don't want to have your, you know, all of your eggs in one basket per se. Just like how we say in real estate, hey, you don't want to be having all of your eggs in one basket with title companies. You want to have like 3 to 5 just in case this one decides, hey, I'm not going to do these types of transactions anymore. Same thing goes in business. You have to be able to have, you know, your eggs not spread like in just one basket. Spread them out a little bit. You know, instead of having all single family rentals, you might want to divvy it up. Get some apartments in there. Get some Airbnbs. Get some businesses that, you know, could be churning and burning for you. And you've got some liquidity coming in with equity in these businesses. You've got cash flow coming in a monthly basis. I love it, Mike. So with somebody that's, you know, just getting started here, why don't we talk about some of the structuring? We've talked about how you could find these. You know, you go on the number one search engine in the world. You go on Google, type in, you know, businesses for sale. You should be able to find quite a bit. And, you know, we've talked a little bit about logistics of where, you know, it's pretty broad, anywhere, as long as the numbers make sense, right? Numbers make sense. English speaking, have somebody bilingual, somebody there. What kind of structuring? I know you talked about you structure things from 100% standpoint. With the deal that you're referencing, the deal that you picked up for 2 million, and it's now worth 1.8. So with that deal, what type of contracts go in place? Because it's obviously not a real estate deal, but what kind of contracts are you putting in place to where, you know, you're protecting yourself? And you're structuring these in a way to where you could, you know, have no money out of your pocket. Okay.
So like in real estate, you have a purchase agreement, right? Purchase contract. We have the same thing in business. So here's an easy way to look at it. Almost everything that you do in business, or everything that you do in real estate rather, if you replace it with the word business, it's almost identical. Yeah. That's the nice part about it. So we'll have a letter of intent or that goes to the seller initially. Once they agree, we sign off. Okay, we all agree that these are the terms of how we're going to structure this deal. Then we will do our due diligence, right? We lock it up. We lock up the deal, kind of like you do if you were doing a wholesale deal, right? You'll lock up the property under contract, and you try to flip the contract. Well, in business, we're going to use a letter of intent. We'll lock up the deal so we can do our due diligence as everybody passes through. We'll get our funding for it. However we do our funding, sometimes it's bank loans, sometimes it's outside lenders, sometimes it's owner financing, sometimes it's a combination of everything.
Yeah.
Once we do that, right, we structure it. We'll use an attorney and a closing company to handle the transfer of all the paperwork. And one of the reasons, and for me, this is really key, is I want owner financing. I will never do a deal unless I get some owner financing. And my minimum is I want no less than 20%, sometimes as much as 85% owner financing. Now, the reason that I want owner financing is it acts as an insurance policy for me. It's not that I couldn't get the funding for the deal, because I can. It's more about, and by the way, when I'm doing owner financing today, right, it might be 4% that I might pay a seller for their owner financing. Whereas if I get a commercial loan, it could be 7, 8, or 9%. So I do save money, but that's not really the reason. The reason that I get owner financing, it's an insurance policy against the seller not telling me everything about the business. So the same way that you might get a home inspection, you might get a title report and everything else, that's to protect you against things that the seller is not disclosing. Well, I do the same thing with a business. So if I have $400,000 or $500,000 or $1 million in owner financing, and I get into the business and it turns out that the seller doctored the books, or they misled us on sales or whatever, or a bunch of employees, they all quit, or the contracts immediately cancelly go away. Well, guess what I'm not paying? I'm not paying the seller note, because they made assurances to me that all these things were good. And if they're not, I go against that seller finance note and I end up getting the business cheaper. So that's the primary reason that I have seller financing.
Hey, go grab a copy of our brand new book. We'd love to put this in your hands, The Art of Flipping Deals. You could go grab your copy today at theflippingbook.com. Make sure you head on over to theflippingbook.com. We'd love to get this in your hands today and show you exactly how you could get free exclusive inbound leads in your business today. Make sure you head on over to theflippingbook.com. Take care. Bye. That's smart. Yeah, that's extremely smart. I love how you just explained that for everybody, because I know for some of our folks that are new and they're intrigued, they're excited to be hearing this right now, they might be wondering about that. And I think I know the answer to this question, but I just want to make sure from you. I know we've explored doing some e-com business stuff, some business flipping that standpoint. We also have done some wholesaling with business flipping. So are you able to, so similar to real estate, find a smoking deal as long as you've got a buyer in place? Does that work kind of similar with this whole business model that you have?
So yeah, so there are deals sometimes that I get that are under market value. So typically when we buy a business, so let me give everybody sort of an idea of what you're going to pay for something. And I don't care what industry it's in or niche. I don't care. As long as it's cash flowing, has growth potential. I want to buy that business for a 3x of its profit or less. 3 times the profit or less. If I can't get it to those numbers, I don't want to buy it. I'm paying too much for it. So you might have a SaaS company, or some people, they'll value their business at 5, 6, 7, 10 times its profit. Well, if you buy at that level, unless you're buying it for a very strategic reason, because you want access to a certain customer base or a certain market, it makes no sense for me or you or anybody that's listening to buy a company at that level. It needs to be under 3 multiples so that you have enough positive cash flow after you pay off all the debts, all the employees, and running a business, that you still have enough profit. So that 3 multiple is very important. And we find deals like that all the time. So don't get me wrong. What was the rest of the question though?
So from a wholesaling, yeah, no problem. So wholesaling.
So wholesaling, yes. So there are times when we find a deal that might only be a 1 multiple or sometimes a half multiple, 0.5 of its profit. Well, guess what? We can get that under contract and we can turn around and flip that on the open market to somebody else at a 1, 2, or 3 multiple, because they just undervalued it because the seller doesn't know what the seller doesn't know.
Right.
Makes sense. So when we're dealing with sellers directly, sometimes even with brokers, they undervalue the business. You can turn around and really flip that deal. And all of a sudden, so if I'm buying, let's say $1 million business, 30% profit, 300,000, and it's selling for a 1 multiple. It's selling for $300,000, 1 times the profit, right? Selling for 300, but I know it should be selling for 3 times that profit. I can get it on a contract for 300 grand, and I can try it out and put out a new contract and sell it for 900 and profit 600,000. That's a whole different level of wholesale that most people can't get when they're doing real estate, right? Because we're dealing with numbers, multiples of profit.
That would be a huge numbers. And obviously from talking to you offline and over the years, I know those types of numbers are realistic, especially if you could pick them up and negotiate them the right way. What type of paperwork then is handled from that side? If somebody's wanting to wholesale it, you know, you get it under contract. How are you protecting yourself so that you can sell it? Kind of like in real estate, right? We call it an A to B, B to C transaction. How would it work from that standpoint if you're wholesaling it?
It's the same way, right? The only difference is we're saying business instead of property. And sometimes the business may include property. So there's really no difference in the structure. So we're going to initially negotiate with a letter of intent. Then we'll create a purchase agreement, which gives us the right to sell it to some of our buyers. We'll just put language right in there. We're going to sell it to some of our buyers so they know we're not the end buyer, and they don't care as long as they get closing, and they get closing within a certain period of time. So I have a window, just like you do in real estate, to actually perform. And same thing with business flipping. You can do the same thing.
So I'm assuming when it comes to finding buyers for these, because I'm sure people are probably wondering that are watching this right now, finding buyers for businesses. I know the answer, but I kind of want to hear from you. As long as the numbers make sense, you could show, you could show tax returns, you could show actual sales from the business. So whatever platform they are using for generating sales, as long as I could see the documentation for a year at least, that I could see that, like P&Ls properly, see where the business is, see where there's opportunities for you to take the business where it's at now and explode it. A lot of times, they're not marketing it the right way. The branding might not be the right way. The person may have had a great idea, but they're just not a business person. So from that standpoint, we have all of these numbers. It's a super sexy deal from a numbers standpoint. Where are we finding these buyers at?
Actually, you can list it on all sorts of different websites and as a business for sale by owner. So you are, because you have it under contract, you're technically the owner of record because you're in the chain of title for a limited time window. So just like if you had a house that you're trying to wholesale, where would you go list that? You'd either list it in classified ads, you go to real estate groups, you go to other investor groups, and you start posting. Well, we do the same thing when we have a business. But here's something to think about, right? Let's say, what would be more profitable? Would it be to find a deal that you bought for 1, but should a 1x that should be selling for 3x? Well, wouldn't it be better to buy it at the 1x, keep all that profit, grow it, do a couple of other things, so you're still pulling in $300,000 a year in profit, right? Which is great money. Somebody else runs that business for you, and that's the key ingredient. You do not run this business. Unless you are qualified and you know that industry specifically, you should not be the one running it. You hire somebody else. So that's what we do. We never run the businesses that we buy because I don't know how to run them. I get an expert who's run those kinds of companies before, and I let them do it. So imagine that you keep that profit, you grow it, you triple it. It's now, instead of $300,000 in profit on that $1 million business, it's now making $900,000. And just for easy math, let's say that rounded off to $1 million so the math is easy in our head. And I'm going to sell that because I've had this rocket growth from 300 to 900,000 over the next couple of years. I can now sell that for $4 or $5 million. I picked it up for 300,000 and I'm selling for 4 or 5 million, and I make all that profit in between while I build it up. Which would be better, taking a short cash now or that whole lot of cash now plus a big payday later? I like the bigger payday later.
Yeah.
And then because I can do more of these deals, my name's not on the credit. My name's not on any of the paper. So I don't have any personal credit or financial liability in any of the deals that we do. So if you structure the way that we do, you won't either, which means you can do all these different deals that are out there and build up your portfolio just like you would have your rental portfolio or Airbnb portfolio, your apartment portfolio, whatever, except now you're talking a couple of extra zeros.
That's awesome. And I know you put together, a special detailed training just for our folks. And I super appreciate you doing that, because there's only so much we could cover on a podcast episode. And Mike was generous enough to put together a very special in-depth training going over this a little bit more for you in detail. You could check that out. We're going to have a link up here right now, noflippingexcuses.com/biz flip. Again, that's noflippingexcuses.com/BIZ Super excited for folks to go ahead and check that out. We're kind of getting to the end of the show here, Mike, and I just have to say it's been an absolute pleasure for you to join us. And I know we're not quite done yet, folks. I've got a couple more questions for Mike, but I just want to make sure you guys were aware of that special training. It's exclusive. Nobody else is going to know about that outside of this podcast and on our YouTube channel. So make sure you go and check that out. So Mike, one of the things I really like to try and find out from our guests as we're winding down, because I'm a big person on, masterminding, networking, having really good quality people in your life. And a lot of that comes from, the knowledge that you're able to build over the years, and, being able to rub shoulders with the right people. Books are a huge way of being able to get the mind in the right way. I'm not big at being able to sit down and read, but I'm big on audibles. For you, Mike, what's been a really big book, like something that, really helped start your life in business, in real estate, 30 years ago? Was there any one book that you could come to and be like, yeah, that was the book?
I'll give you a couple. I don't think it was any one, but a couple. So I remember way back in the day, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Great book. Love it. Everybody should get it, read it. Even playing the game, it's a lot of fun. Because it's just a different mindset, right? We grow up with the wrong people around us who have all the best intentions, but they end up holding us down. They pull us back. Right. Versus, and over the years, I've had to get new friends because they want to stay where they're at, and I want to grow.
Yeah.
Sometimes I need new friends, and I've done that. Think and Grow Rich is also another one. Who Moved My Cheese is a great little book about thinking about, the power of, you're trying to improve your business, but all you did was shift it over here because you're trying to improve the business so you have more free time. And one of the biggest challenges that people have when they're thinking about buying a business is they want more time. They want more control. Right. And this is why I don't let any of our partners work in the business that we're buying. Because all of a sudden the cheese moved from the problem that they had, and now they're running the company. They just moved it over here, right? And so it's a great book to change your mindset on how you focus on deals.
Oh, I love that. And for folks that, go and sign up for the exclusive training that you're having on business flipping, what can they expect to learn there?
Several things. So we'll walk through the basics of where the market was, where it is, some of the opportunities, some of the ways that we buy deals. We do that. And then if people want to take it actually to the next level, we will actually partner with our students, our affiliates, we call them, and we'll actually do these deals with you. So people can get literally started for a couple $100, or we have entire turnkey programs where we'll do it for you so that you could watch what we do along the way. And we'll actually find the deal, negotiate the deal, do due diligence, fund the deal, close it, operate it, and you're just kind of an owner on the background watching everything that happens. So we have it from low end to, we do it all for you. So it's about really getting somebody educated. And then they say, okay, you know what? I like that. I want that. I need that. And they're willing to act. It's not like people that just say, oh, this is a cool little webinar. Cool. I got a little information. Where's the next shiny object? It's like, no, if you see value in what we do and you could see yourself doing what we do, then great, we would love to talk to you. So there's like a little application that they could fill out and say, hey, I want to work with you guys. How does it work? And then we'll talk to them one-on-one on the phone, because I don't like to do, big giant pitches and stuff like that. It's like, no, because everybody's situation is different. Right. So I like to find people who are motivated, want to do deals, and different people are at different levels. Some people want to find deals for us. Other people say, hey, I want to buy that company, and I don't want to own it. I want to own 4 or 5 companies. And so I need a copy of the system that Mike has already figured out. And so they'll model that after us, and we show them how to do that. So it just depends on where somebody wants to play.
Oh, I love that. That makes so much sense. And how you just broke it down. I love that you were able to give it in a detailed manner like that. And for folks that, want to check it out, we have the link in the show notes. We also have it in the description below if you're watching this on YouTube. Again, that's www.noflippingexcuses.com/BIZFLIP. So noflippingexcuses.com/BizFlip. Mike, it's been an absolute pleasure, honor for having you on here today, my friend. Do you have any parting words for folks that are watching this and they're like, man, I want to go check out that webinar presentation, because you delivered some amazing information today, my friend.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And also, Jason, thank you for having me on the show with you. Hopefully my enthusiasm for this topic comes out, because I eat, read, and love this stuff. To me, this is not work. This is fun. I get paid very well for it. I get to travel the world. I get to meet some really cool people. And if people want to do what I do, there's a phrase I came up with a while ago. Opportunities don't go away. They just go to somebody else.
Oh, I love that.
So, if somebody's watching and they say, oh, well, I see the opportunity. Oh, I'll wait or whatever. Don't worry. Somebody else took it. Right. So, it's just the way it is. Opportunities come across people's desks all the time, but most people are afraid to act. Well, they'll talk about, I'm going to one day, right? And action is not something you say. Action is something that you do. So if people are serious, they say, I really want to learn more about this whole business flipping, just like real estate, using creative strategies. How do I do that? Well, let us help you, right? We'll partner with you from A to Z. Depends on what level you want to play. But that's where we're different than other people, is that we'll actually put our money into your deals. Because guess what? Then we have a vested interest in your success, because obviously we'll own a part of it. So we have a vested interest in that success. We're not lenders. We don't loan money. We partner and we do deals. So if people want something like that, great. Come check us out. Other than that, I hope people got a lot of information today. Hopefully they took notes. I mean, obviously I talk kind of fast. So, they were writing down a lot of information, details and stuff, and, do something. Anything is better than doing nothing and just going and watch another video.
Yes.
So do something.
I love that. Yes. Go do something today. I don't care what it is. Go do something today. Mike, it's been a pleasure having you, my friend. Hey, for those of you that aren't subscribed yet, make sure you click that subscribe button below. We would love to have you as a subscriber. Make sure you click that little notification bell, because every time a new video gets uploaded to the channel, you will get notified first. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Mike deserved it. He dropped the goods. And if you are listening to this over on iTunes, make sure you give us a 5-star review. Make sure you're a subscriber over there as well. And drop a review for us over in iTunes. Let us know what you enjoyed about today's episode. We would love to continue the conversation in the chat section. But other than that, I'm Jason Lucchesi. Thank you so much for joining us today. We will see you on the next episode. Take care. Bye now.